I'm Adam Gordon, the Profit Street Detective, and a very warm welcome to this cash optimisation report, a 5-minute review where we give you some immediate practical tips on how to improve the cash flow and profitability in your business. That requires planning. There are so many quotable quotes about planning in business. The reason there are so many, I suspect, is that it's so important, yet it's not done well. And here's just some of them, and your viewers might have heard this one. Failing to plan means you're planning to fail. Somebody said you wouldn't build a house without a plan. Why would you try and build a business without one? MYOB, the accounting software companies, in 2008 did a survey and found that 83% of respondents consider planning and preparing a business to ensure survival through an economic recession to be important, but only 44% actually had a business plan. And that just leads me to touch on one other item, that planning without action isn't worth much. Execution is what creates the value. And I've read a figure some years ago that something like 70% of business plans don't get executed. So I'll be interested to hear what our guest today has to say about that. And our guest, I'm joined today by Dr. Warren Harmer from the Business Plan Company. Warren, a very warm welcome to you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know Warren, small, fast-growing and entrepreneurial businesses are his passion. Warren likes to write business plans for them, grow them, advise them and write about them. His experience now spans over 17 years, including 3 businesses of his own. Warren's objective is to offer instructive, hands-on, how-to information to make business ownership easier, less stressful, more successful and more enjoyable. Warren, I've got to say, I can completely understand that. And this is interesting. Warren started his career as a scientist. He achieved his doctorate, but soon after decided that a career in research or academia was not for him. His baptism of fire into small business happened when he decided to start a restaurant, and that's another one that fascinated me in what you've been doing, Warren. It was successful, but the most intense and exhausting experience of his life. Warren left that business thinking there must be better support for small business, so he decided to be the one giving it. In the last 14 years since that time, Warren's worked as a consultant to hundreds of small businesses through CRESA, cresa.com.au. Is that the correct pronunciation?
It depends. It's a Spanish word that means to grow. So you could say crecer or crecer, depending on which Spanish you speak.
CRCER. And more recently, he formed the Business Plan Company. This business is now his main focus, and in the last 4 years, he's also expanded into writing, now contributing to a number of columns in Australia. Warren has big plans for the Business Plan Company and intends to expand his writing further, having already started a comprehensive one-stop book for small business, the Small Business Manual. Now, Warren's going to answer 5 questions on business planning for small business. We have roughly 5 minutes. Now, Warren, I haven't got the big clock ready to hit you, but
no worries. I was going to say it's going to be intense to get through business planning in 5 minutes.
we keep it brief so that people can get it. So, if you're ready to go, we'll go. Righto. First question. Business planning takes time, money, and effort for a small business. Why bother?
Look, I guess the biggest takeaway, it's taking an objective view on the business. So every day I sort of consider the business owner as pretty much in the trenches. You're dealing with your clients, you're dealing with potentially staff that don't turn up. You've got a lot of decisions to make every day, and once you're right in the thick of it, it's really hard to take an objective view and really understand where you're going and take that time to think about where you're going. So it's having dedicated time where you actually step away from the business and really think about and plan where you want to go, but also look back. So the planning process is as much about review as it is about looking forward. It's about making mistakes on paper, and some big decisions do require extra effort, some time, and it's really about taking away the daily juggle of being a business owner and just for a little short while becoming a business strategist so you know where your business is going to go. Because at the end of the day, when you need to make some of those small decisions every day, if you don't know where you're going, or you haven't decided where you're going, you could be going anywhere.
Exactly, and there's a very famous quote that people often use from Alice in Wonderland about that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll get there eventually. somewhere.
Yeah, you'll get somewhere. You'll get somewhere. I mean, I guess just some of the statistics you were talking about before, it's quite sobering. And, you know, in my experience working with small business, I haven't seen anywhere near as many business plans as those people profess to have had. And most of the time they have been for a finance application they may have done when they started their business. But this isn't a luxury. You know, people have a lot riding on their businesses. They've got their life savings tied up in it most of the time. And I don't think that the health of the business is quite often given the same level of gravity as really what's at risk. I mean, having a small business is probably one of the most financially risky things people can do. And business planning in some form is sort of it's just a bit of I guess the most, in terms of maintaining the health of your business, it's a pretty easy practice to have to try and keep it on track.
And as you say, the risk, then very often they've mortgaged their home to provide finance and everything's at risk.
Absolutely. There's a lot on the line, and I don't think it's necessarily given the weight that it probably should.
I couldn't agree more. I was going to say, I've been doing this a long time, and yes, I've seen it. In your book, you talk about business planning, not business plans. What do you mean by that? Okay,
so from what I've seen in small business, most of the time people have done a business plan. And when people think of a business plan, they think of that formal, very structured looking document that contains all the things that a business plan does. So I think people get caught up in the idea that business planning is around creating that highly polished document. In an operating business, I consider business planning is a much more useful term to use because it makes you think of an ongoing practice. Because if you're looking forward and looking backwards in your business, you don't do it once and put it in a nice, beautiful document, usually written by someone else, and then let it sit there and that was all you do. It's about the discussions you have every day, every week, every month, every year. It's about getting everybody's headspace into an ongoing practice where you're looking, you're reviewing, and you're seeing whether you're on track. So it's, by saying business planning, it's about talking about what we do in a business all the time, ongoing, not just one single activity that then gets shelved and forgotten about.
And one of the issues there, the ongoing bit, is reviewing and reporting against your plan on a regular basis, just a basis.
And it just doesn't happen that much in small business.
And you're right there.
even monthly reporting, even monthly financial reporting, even though that's absolute bare minimum, it really doesn't happen very much. I require of my client when I do business coaching to report monthly. And I always have the bottom section, the last bit of the monthly report is, why is it so? Yeah.
Not very well to say these are the figures,
yep.
But I would like my clients to tell me, why is it so? Why are those figures like they are, whether they're up or down or wherever? What's happening in the business?
That's right. And what do we need to do anything about it?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, in some ways, looking at financials, you're already at the end of the cycle. You're looking backwards over what happened 6 weeks ago sometimes. So in some ways, it's already too late, but you still need to be taking action. You know, if you see something going south, you've got to move.
Lag indicators, not lead indicators.
Exactly, yes. Yes.
Okay. How can business planning be made easy and accessible for small business?
Okay, so I was talking about the idea of planning versus plans. First thing to do is just to get rid of that idea that it needs to be some beautiful document. If you're talking about plans for an ongoing business, it can be in a format, it can be in any format. You know, when I do my own business plans, I actually use spreadsheets because that's the way my mind works. So in those spreadsheets, there will be projections, budgets, be my marketing plan for the year, my action plans for the year broken down into a month. So that's what works for me. I've had other clients that really like mind maps. Some people like the one-page business plan. Some people write up that full formal plan. Whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. I kind of liken it to having a gym membership. You're better off to be going and doing something, even if it's, you know, whatever works for you, even if it's just getting on the treadmill and walking, than not going at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's happening in most part is it's doing nothing at all. So I think just get rid of that idea of it needs to be this beautiful looking document, unless you really want to do that, but you don't have to. It just needs to include those things it's about the review, it's about the time taken away, and it's about the action and implementation, measuring back against what your goals were. So whatever format works for you, then that's fine.
I love that analogy of the treadmills of work. It's taking action. It's doing something. It's
something. And when you get good at it, then you can start getting picky about which format you use. But if it's a choice between doing almost nothing or something basic, then just do the basic and start.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Okay, now you talk of two different types of business plans. What are they? And what are the differences?
Yeah, so in my book, I was just talking about that when I do projects for clients, they usually come in two formats. One is the one where people come along and they want to do the business plan for themselves. And quite often that's somebody starting a business, they don't quite know where to go. So they really want some guidance along the way. And I call those plans for yourself. Plans for others are plans that need to be done for some type of application. So such things as investors, quite often with bank finance applications, some migration business visas require a business plan, or it could be sometimes even leaseholders have to submit business plans if you're trying to get a retail shop at a shopping centre. That happens sometimes, or maybe even a builder's license application. So the first type of plan where you're doing it for yourself, it's pretty open slather what you put in it. Those ones usually take a bit longer because there's a bit more discussion involved. The format is not the end game. The final document just documents what you spoke about. Any other type, if you're doing a plan for yourself, usually they have criteria which they want exactly what the information submitted. So a bank will want the P&L and balance sheet projections and those types of things because that's their criteria. In an ideal world, you would do the plan for yourself and then you would do a nice, shorter, polished version that you would hand over to someone else, but that usually doesn't happen. So even for those shorter plans, I really like to get my clients thinking. So even though it's a shorter process, they still get something out of it.
I call those first types roadmaps. The ones that are for the business, where we're going and how we're going to get there.
Yep. Yeah, nice one.
Okay. Final question. What are the bare minimums that a small business should be doing in terms of planning?
Okay, so start a cycle. Start a cycle that you stick to. So within that, you would have an annual review at the least. So set it in your calendar that every January or July or whatever it is that you will go back and review the year that was past and map out what it is that you want to do. And within that, you definitely should have some kind of financial projection, some kind of budget, any major projects or goals that you want for the year, and then your marketing for the year. Even if it's just basic, put all those things into what you think is going to happen and how you're going to get there. So then on top of that, you'll need a monthly cycle where you'll actually review your financials. You will review the results that have happened, measure you against those projects, the timelines that you had in the first place, and just see that you're on track. And then daily and weekly, you should be having metrics that kind of keep you in line with those. So everything goes back to that big plan, but it's the timetable, the disciplined timetable that you have to stick to. Preset those times. You know, if you do your reporting every Monday, just do it every Monday, get it over with, and it's really the only way to see whether you're on track with that original plan.
It's the discipline. I think the discipline of doing something on a regular basis is so important. Getting into the habit of those regular reviews. I was saying to one of my clients, we were talking about the financials before. There's so many metrics you can have in a business: average sales, how many times the phone is rang, how many web visitors you've got. Every moving part in a business can be measured. Yes,
when things go wrong, you don't want to be starting to measure. You want to already have 6 months worth of data to say, this is what's happened, this is what's changed, and now I know what to do about it.
There's a saying, I don't know where I came across it, but the road to success is paved with good information.
That's very good. Okay.
Warren, that's really good. Where can people go to get more information?
Okay, so I have a website, thebusinessplancompany.com.au. I also have a personal site, which is warrenharmer.com. My book, if I'm allowed to hold that up, Business Planning for Small Business, is available on Amazon. Also, I am a contributor to businesses.com.au and flying-solo.com.au.
Okay, that's excellent. Look, anyone in small business should be listening to what you've just told us and following through. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been nice talking to you.